Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right. Episode 128 of the Personal Trainer Hustle. As always, your host, Sam Lopez here. And today we've got a question that was sent in. So we've got a Q&A episode. We have a question sent in from a personal trainer that is working now at Equinox in Miami. And today's question is very near and dear to my heart because I feel like I had a similar experience and I had a similar goal as to what today's question is going to be about. So let's jump into today's question sent in by Merrick Evans. So shout out Merrick Evans. And the question is, starting at Equinox in Miami in a few days. I'm ready to do whatever it takes, and the location has 15 trainers. I know it will be a grind, but I want to make the top 5 in trainer revenue by the end of the month 3. What are 3 things I can dial in on to make that happen and differentiate from the others? I love that question. Listen, this is literally exactly what I had to go through. So I didn't start at Equinox. I was working at a Bally Total Fitness. This was back in 2009. The end of 2009 is when I got my first training job. And just like you, I had a group of like 15 trainers as well. So this was a very big gym, one of the biggest gyms that Bally's had down here in SoCal. It was like kind of 3 stories. It was 2 stories, but the middle story was like a track. So we had the main gym at the bottom. We had a pool. There was a sauna, I believe, at the bottom, a bunch of cardio equipment. You would go up, and on your way to the top floor, there was a track and some like stretching workout area. And then at the very top, we had free weights and machines and a workout studio where they had classes, and then all the training offices at the top. So it was a very big gym. They hired a lot of trainers all the time. They also got rid of a lot of trainers, even though for most gyms, trainers just quit. But it was a very busy gym. So I completely understand the situation that you find yourself in. And I like what you're thinking because you have to think this way. So for anybody that is in a big gym, there's a lot of opportunity in a big gym. There's also a lot of turnover in big gyms. And the reason for that is because it's highly competitive. But the good thing about being in a big gym too is that there are a lot of leads, a lot of opportunities. There are people signing up consistently for memberships at gyms like this. They tend to be very popular. At least that's what I'm guessing based on the amount of trainers that they're hiring. So if they're hiring 15 trainers, just like we used to have about 15 trainers on staff when I started, that means most likely that the gym is pretty big. But whether it's big or not, this type of thinking is what is required. Okay. So I'd been meaning to even do an episode just on how, like the grind itself. But I guess we're going to cover some of that stuff in today's episode. Okay. So the question was 3 pieces of advice, 3 tips to be at the top 3 of revenue or the top 5. What was it? Let me read it again. So you want to make it to the top 5 in revenue by the end of month 3. So I don't know how many months you're already into this job, but I like how you're thinking. So this is interesting because most trainers aren't thinking this way. I'm going to tell you that, right? Most trainers are focused on the training aspect. A lot of trainers aren't focusing on actually hitting their goals. Most trainers, and a lot of trainers listening are going to know that this is true for them as well. Most trainers are very uncomfortable with having goals set every month for them to hit in the sales department, right? Most of us, including myself when I started, we were in it to be trainers. And then we got hired into a high traffic gym, very much like Equinox. And now not only are you expected to train, but you also need to hit certain goals because it is a business, right? Your manager has revenue goals that are part of their job, which then lead to being part of your job. And most trainers want to quit because of this. So already you can look at this as a major advantage. The fact that you are not running away from this challenge already is setting you up to get closer to achieving your goals. Okay. And I'm telling you that from experience, because only by wanting to be great at this, by wanting to be at the top, by wanting to actually hit your goals and taking responsibility for hitting your goals, that already lets me know you're thinking in the way that you should be thinking. You're behaving in the way that is going to open up doors for you in the future. Okay. Every company wants somebody who wants to win. Every company wants someone who wants to help the company win. And so when you position yourself just in a mental state where you're thinking, I want to do this, I do want to hit the revenue, I do want to hit my goals, I want to be at the top, that alone is already going to be something that the company is going to want to have as part of their company, like as part of their employees. It's very hard to find people that don't run away from the challenge that is sales, right? Most trainers' downfall is not that they're not good at training, is that they never ever develop the sales part of their training. And so they're stuck because they can't ever grow within a gym. They can never start their own business. They can never hire people. They can never be managers. They can never be busy enough because they just don't take on the challenge of being a salesperson. So for me, I'm going to, like I said, this speaks to me because when I started, it was the same thing. You guys that have been listening to the podcast for a while, you guys know my story. I started at a Valley Total Fitness. I didn't know that I was going to have to hit sales quotas. And in the beginning, it made me want to quit, right? So I was one of those people that I was like, this is not what I signed up for. I'm going to just leave this to other people. I don't like all this crazy competition, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to go to a gym that gives me the clients. So I just have to focus on that. But the issue there was that I was going to get paid less. I was okay with that though. And a lot of people are. Thankfully, right? This was just kind of like good fortune for me. When I went and I applied to other gyms, they were not taking me on, right? They weren't hiring me because I was too new. So I was stuck at the job that gave me my first opportunity. But then I did exactly what you did. And maybe you did it sooner than I did. I made a decision to actually be great, to confront the issue head on, right? Instead of running away from my problems, I decided I want to be a trainer. I want to be a successful trainer. I want to make a career out of training, and I want to go as far as I can, maybe even be a manager one day, and maybe even open up my own gym one day. And I made that decision way back when I still didn't even know how to sell training, when I wasn't even very good at training itself. I was still fresh, but I changed my mindset. And as you guys know now, right, I have my own personal training studio here in LA. But it all started in this moment that you're at right now, where you want to focus on the monetary aspect and the responsibility that you have to contribute to the gym, right? And it's only fair that you contribute because everybody wins. So I do have the 3 points we're going to make today, and I have a bonus. So I'm going to give you 4 things that I want you to focus on. So just stay tuned because I do have those 4 points, three and then an extra one. And I'm saying three and an extra because you asked for three, but I just figured there's another one that is very important for us to talk about as well. So we're going to get to that. Um, but everybody wins. When you decide to win and you decide to help your company win, everybody's going to win. Because at the end of the day, this is what trainers aren't thinking about. If you hit your goals with your sales, a lot of great things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to have more clients to train, which means you're getting paid more to be there. Two, you're getting more experience, right? So now you're actually practicing what you preach because you have clients that are trusting you with their fitness. And so now you're figuring out your programs, you're figuring out what exercises to do, what exercises don't work, how to work with older people, younger people, you're figuring out your niche, who gravitates to you, who doesn't, right? All of this you're developing because you're getting more clients. The other thing that happens is that the company starts to see you as a valuable asset. So not only are you getting paid more because you have more clients, the company is starting to notice you now. And by doing this, the company is going to know that they can count on you, and other opportunities present themselves, right? The opportunity to teach other people, to have promotions, to sell bigger packages, right? I know if you work at Equinox, you already know this, but there's a tier level. But here's the issue. A lot of people can't even hit the first marker. So I don't know where you're going to start in your Equinox career, but I would say just master the basics, okay? If you're a tier 1 level 1 trainer, fill up your schedule, learn how to sell, learn how to hit your goals, and then what's going to happen is you're going to naturally ascend. An issue that we have is we're trying to start level 2, level 3, we think too highly of our training. And also sometimes depending on the management that you have, because I already know a lot of you guys are living through this. Sometimes managers, they're so desperate to hit the goals, to sell, to continue that top line revenue, that they're forcing trainers to try to sell a level 2, level 3, level 4 when they haven't even mastered the level 1 tier 1 sales and training aspect of it, right? So it's very overwhelming. And so I always think you're better off having a trainer master the very basics, right? Whatever. Let's say, for example, it's $50 a session that you're selling and you're scared to do that. Master that. That's hard enough, because once you get in the hundreds, 150, 200, whatever it is, right? You want to be, if you start there, it might crush you because you do not have the experience, you don't have the confidence, you don't have the sales skills, you don't have the time under tension in this particular job. You have not built a name for yourself. More likely than not, you're going to set yourself up for failure. You're better off becoming the busiest trainer at the level that you're at. And what I was trying to say is the company's going to notice that, and they're going to give you other goals, other like missions to accomplish. That a lot of people don't realize because they've never hit their first goals, right? So a lot of people don't see all of the opportunities that present themselves in the future because they never get past level 1. And so they think, well, if this is all there is to training, I should go look for something else. I should do something else, right? Maybe I should just take these clients and start my own thing. Maybe I should go look for a different job. Maybe I should switch to a different gym, because they don't see the opportunities because they haven't hit their initial goals. And, there's nothing anyone can do about that. So you want to hit your first goals. Other things are going to come up. I'll be done with my story right now and we'll jump into the points, but I'm just going to share it because, again, like I said, this is exactly what I lived through. Once I decided to hit my goals and once I hit them, then I moved on to higher tier training, higher tier packages. And then my story is I was then promoted to be a manager. And so I started at a smaller gym, right? Because they're starting you off small. So they moved me to a different gym. And now my job was to sell and to hire and to coach other trainers. And I had my own team now. And that brought its own, challenges and its own education, its own, goals that I had to do for myself, and like ways of and now I had to learn how to hire people. Now I had to learn how to teach other people what I was doing as well, so that my team was strong. And so now I had a more leadership type of role. Obviously my income became higher, right? I had sessions, commissions, and hourly. And so I moved up a little bit, even though I wasn't training as much. And that showed me a lot of different skills that I needed once I jumped into business on my own. And so, it can go very far if you keep hitting those goals. So great on you for wanting to do that. And that's just a little bit of my background and some of the benefits that are going to come if you're able to do this. But it is easier said than done, because when we become trainers, all of our coaching is around personal training, right? We don't get coaching in this area. And so, just to kind of throw a teaser out there, because I just talked to Sean about this yesterday. He's like, let people know something's coming. So Sean, you're listening. I'm letting them know now, right? We are working, and I'm working with Sean a little bit about doing something about that. So not just the podcast, because the podcast is about showing you guys the other parts of training, just like we're going to talk about today. But we're trying to we're trying to grow this project. Okay, you guys. So stay tuned, hit the likes, hit the subscriptions, send in your questions, because that keeps us moving forward. And you guys are going to get more out of it, right? Because now we're working on bigger projects than just the podcast, because you guys are sending in your questions, because you guys are tuning in and realizing, man, I want to learn the business side, the sales side of this game, right? I want to learn from other trainers how they did it, so that I can relate to that. Because again, most of the training that you guys have are around movement, right? You guys know foam rolling, you guys get corrective exercise, you guys get TRX certs, kettlebell certs, but really, how do you hit your goals though? That's different, right? So that's the part that we're focusing on the pod. So if you guys have your own questions in, send them in. but just stay connected. Follow the podcast, whether it's on an audio only format or on YouTube. Follow it so you, as we develop and we provide different classes and courses and events and things like that, you guys will, be the first to know and participate in those things. So we're working on some of that stuff. With having a real business and the podcast, it's not always the first thing that I work on every day, but it is in the goals that we have for Personal Trainer Hustle. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's jump in. The first one is an obvious one. Okay. The first piece of advice, if you want to hit your targets, if you want to hit your goals, if you want to be the top trainers at your gym, very, very simple. You're going to have to spend more time at the gym. Okay. So to put it simply, look at who is the busiest trainer at the gym and how much time they spend at the gym. Okay. I want you to think about that person. Who is the busiest trainer? Who are the 2, 3 busiest trainers at the gym? Okay. You got them? You got them? Okay. I want you to be there longer than they are there. That's as simple as I can put it. Whoever spends the most time at the gym, your first goal is to spend just as much time, if not more time, and you should spend more time because you are in your growing phase. This is a very critical time, right? You don't have a lot of time because the longer you take to hit your goals, the longer you take to grow your career, your client base, the more discouraged you're going to get, the more set into bad habits you're going to become, right? That's one of the big issues that we have is once a trainer has been a trainer for a year and they haven't grown, they're stuck, more likely than not, they're never going to make the change. So this is the time right now to build these good habits. So number one piece of advice, super simple. It's not anything that you're doing, saying. There's no sales involved. It's just about grit and stamina. You guys, if you've been listening for a while, I think I did an episode about this once, but you know what I did when I first started is I put my business more than anything. I printed out the definition of stamina. Okay, I'm just sharing real life stuff with you right now. I had the definition of stamina on my mouse pad. Okay. It said stamina. And every time that I was tired, every time that I wanted to quit, every time that I wasn't sure what else to do, I always thought about stamina. And I thought about this, and I'm sharing it with you because you can implement this. As long as you can outlast the next person, you're in line to win. You're in line to get the reward. Okay. It's a stamina thing. Okay. Most people don't make it, not because they don't have the skills, but because they don't have the grit, they don't have the stamina, they don't have the grind that it takes to get to the next level, right? It's very similar to fitness, right? Why do most people not get fit? Is it because they don't know how to jog? Is it because they can't find a boot camp? Is it because they don't want to, they don't know how to lift weights? To some degree, maybe, but it's really because they're not consistent enough. They're not disciplined enough, right? They're not putting in enough effort when they are at the gym. They're wasting time. So think about that and think about you in your prospecting now at the gym. If you're not there putting in the amount of work that is required, then you also will not have the results that you want. Now, this is a very important thing about spending time at the gym. I did an episode about this a long time ago if you guys ever run into it, but here's the issue and here's the reality that you have to confront right now. When you start, you don't have the skills required to win. Okay. This is what we call sweat equity. What you have is energy. What you have is time. That's all you have. You don't have skills, right? A lot of people say work harder, not smarter. That's not true when you're not smart yet. That's the issue. We want to always look for shortcuts, man. If I can tell you one thing, is stop it with the shortcuts. And I'm not saying you specifically are looking for shortcuts, but it's such a human trait. It is the stupidest thing that people do over and over and over again. Okay. The dumbest thing that people, when they start a new career, a new job, the dumbest thing that they always fucking do is think that they can outsmart the system. That if they read the right books, that if they talk to the right people, they get the mentor, they take the right pictures, they start the right profile, they get enough followers, that somehow they have to avoid the hard work. Every single trainer that has ever made it in training has spent 10 hours at the gym every day, 12 hours at the gym. They work Saturdays, they work Sundays. This is what it takes. If you're not willing to, then the reward is not for you. That's just the bottom line. Now, eventually you get skills, but only after you've done it and paid your dues long enough, then you can develop shortcuts. But the shortcuts cannot be learned without going through the experience you have to go through. That's the biggest mistake people make when they go, oh, well, work smarter, not harder. Unless you've worked hard, you have not developed the smarts. The smarts only happen through the grit, through the grind, through years of putting in a lot of time and effort and energy and sacrifice, all of those words. Once you've done that, sure, you can do what sometimes Sean and I do, right? We show up to a consultation, we talk to somebody for 15 minutes, they say, okay, I want to commit to 6 months of training. Okay, great. You don't have that what do you call it? Like, you don't have that leeway yet, right? You cannot try to do that and emulate that, because that only comes after 5 years, 10 years, more time of doing it over and over and over again. You work out the kinks, you can figure certain things out. So that's the biggest mistake that most people are going to make in the very beginning, especially as personal trainers, is when you're a personal trainer, you just have to put in a lot of time, okay? Because you don't know exactly who to talk to, what to say, when to prospect, how to know what person is interested versus not interested, what type of person gravitates to you versus not, what type of value you're giving in your training versus training that is average, right? You don't know when the right lead is going to show up, right? So if you only prospect certain hours, maybe there were 3 leads at 7 a.m., but you decided to show up at 3 p.m. But today there's no leads at 3 p.m. And so what you have to do is you have to go out there and hunt and fish as much as possible, because you don't know when that lead is going to cross your path, right? I did another episode about being like a fisherman, but I'll summarize it here, right? When you start, you don't know when to fish, you don't know how to fish, and you don't know when to fish, right? So the first thing you want to do is just fish as much as possible, and then eventually you figure out how to fish and what times and how to be efficient. But right now, you don't know if your lead tomorrow is going to be at the gym at 9. You don't know if it's going to be at 1. You don't know if it's going to be at 3. You don't know if it's going to be at 5 or at 6 p.m., right? So that's why the only way to guarantee that you're going to do this is to be there as much as you possibly can, because you're giving yourself as many opportunities as you can. It hurts, but you just can't be efficient yet. You don't have those skills. And if you do, it's a mistake. Okay? The moment that you think you're going to be efficient with your time at the gym, you've already messed up. The best way to do it is just to make that sacrifice to outwork the busiest trainer at the gym. Now, they're busy training probably, but if you're there, good things are going to happen, right? And also, other trainers and your manager are going to begin to respect you because you are doing the things that they did. Okay, I didn't even think about this, but I'm just going to add this here. Damn, that would have been, man, there's so many things you can do here. But the other thing you should do that I did, this is just a piece of advice because this is exactly what I went through, is I started asking the manager and other trainers what they did to become managers and busy trainers. Okay. So that's just something that I learned from my manager. So my manager, one day he pulled me into the office. I've told this story before, but he said, Sam, look outside. Who do you see training? And I pointed out the trainers that were busy. And he said, who are you hanging out with? And I named the people that were not there. And he said, stop hanging out with those people. Start hanging out with the guys that you see out there, the guys and the girls you see out there. They know what to do. Ask them. Stop talking to people that don't have clients. And so I'm giving you that same piece of absolutely real advice. Do not hang out with people that don't have clients. Do not hang out with people that complain about the gym. Do not hang out with people that are on their way out, because you're going to go right down with them. And the manager and the other trainers are watching you. So what you want to do is, you're better off being alone until you befriend some popular trainers, or even, and you don't have to befriend them, respect them. Respect them, respect their knowledge, respect their time, respect their experience, respect that they were able to accomplish the thing that you're trying to accomplish. And if you talk to them with respect, they're going to start cluing you in and helping you out. And if they see that you're there all day, leads will come your way, right? The manager's going to say, hey, I have a lead. Somebody just signed up for a membership. Who's here? oh, you're here all the time. Here you go. Right. They're going to start to pay back, but you have to do it over time. Then, as you gain popularity, other people in the gym are going to start to know that they can count on you, that this is your job, this is your place, this is your home. And they're going to trust you over the face that they see sometimes. Right. So, just so many good things are going to happen, but it is a sacrifice. You're not going to get paid for all the hours. It might not even be legal for the company to have you there working off the clock, but ask the trainers. I'm just ask them if I'm right or if I'm wrong, right? How much time they've had to invest into this, and they'll tell you what they've had to do and how much they've had to work in order to build up their busy client base. Okay. So that's number one. Spend as much time as possible. Pick the busiest trainer, spend more time than them at the gym, and you're already setting yourself up for success. Number two, this is a very technical one. Okay. We're really going to talk about like strategize and systematizing what you're doing. So pay attention, okay? Because it's kind of tough as I'm just kind of speaking it out to you. But number one, you're going to need to track how many people you talk to. Okay. This is your contacts. So I want you to think about this almost like a funnel system, right? So the very highest number in your funnel, the very highest number, right? The gross number, if you want to look at it like that, if you want to look at it like an expense sheet, the total amount coming in is the total amount of contacts that you make. Okay. So contacts are just how many people did you say hi to? How many people did you try to talk to? You said good morning. You went and you helped them with weights. I literally just did an episode not too long ago. If I can find it in my notes here, that would be great. Oh man. Okay, within the last 10 episodes I talked about prospecting, okay? So if you want to kind of go through that cuz I talked literally about prospecting for a little bit. Um but you want to well let's just stay on point here. You want to track the amount of people that you say hi to, that you make contact with, that you are helping in a seat like with the towels, whatever. Sorry, you guys, I got distracted because I just realized I didn't do an episode. It's something I was recording that was like bonus material that should be coming out later. That's why I was so confused. I was like, I know I just talked about prospecting. I'm actually working on putting together a prospecting course. So there you go. Now you guys know. But that's why I was like, I know I just talked about this, but I have not actually talked about this to you guys. So keep a lookout for that. But yeah, so contacts, it's just contacts. Whether you say hi, whether you help them in the gym, whether you give them a walkthrough at the gym, whether you help them find a treadmills, whatever it is, if you made contact, start to track that. So at the end of the day, you should have a goal, let's say of 10 contacts today. Okay. You have 10 contacts that you're going to make. That's your goal. That should be the main thing that you focus on is the number that you can control, okay? Because I'm going to take you through the list, but remember this one point. You can only control the top number, which is the amount of people that you make contact with. What happens after that, you're going to see that you have less control over, okay? So first, you're going to track how many contacts you have every day, okay? Every time you're in the gym, by the end of the day, you need to track this number. How many people did I talk to? Number two, the second number to that, you can either go right or you can go down and put it underneath, right? However, you're imagining tracking this. How many people showed interest in what you were offering? How many people did you get? Now, this is where the skills start to come in. Were you able, of those 10 contacts, were you able to get three of them, five of them, seven of them? How many of them were you able to get interested in personal training? Now, that is why I'm working on a course on this because there is a way to have that conversation. Can you get them interested in training, right? You said good morning, they said something, you had a contact, and then you made an offer of services, a free trial session, whatever it is. Again, there's skills involved in doing that. It's not as easy as just offering it. But again, like I said in the previous point, you don't have skills in the beginning. So you have to rack up the number because you're not going to get a lot of conversions. You don't know what to say. You don't know who to talk to, who's interested, right? It's very difficult. So all you have is to track it. out of the, let's say, example, 10 people that you talked to today that you made contact with, how many of those people showed interest? Now, how do you know interest? Or is because they gave you their contact information or they made an appointment, which would be ideal, right? You make an appointment, they're going to show up maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. You had a connection, they're interested, right? What number is that? Of the interested people, this is the next number that you need to track. Of the people that showed interest, how many people even showed up? How many people actually gave you a chance? Because that number is going to be smaller, right? Of the people that say, sure, I'll come, not everybody does, unless you have higher and higher skills and you can get them interested in showing up, right? Every step of the way, you're developing skills. But when you don't have them, you're kind of just hoping that people show up. So, how many people show up? And then the next number is of those people that show up, how many people make a commitment to train with you? That's your sales. So now, and there's more to the funnel, but this is a very simple formula that every good salesperson has. Okay. I'm giving you literally what the top, salespeople in any industry have. Okay. Real estate, cars, whatever. The top salespeople track their numbers. Okay. Why? Because what you want in order to hit your goals consistently, in order to be at the top 5 trainers, in order to sit at the top of the gym, to differentiate yourself, what you need is you need consistency, trackability, and to systematize what you're doing. So now you can guarantee success when you systematize. You're not looking around and waiting for good luck to find you, right? There's a lot of accountability because you can't say it didn't work because of bad luck. That's why people don't like this. But you seem like someone who wants to take accountability, and so I'm shooting it straight. Okay? You must begin to track your numbers because that way you can guarantee outcomes a little bit better. Now, there's no guarantees in life, of course, but you can better predict your outcomes based on your numbers. So you have to start learning how good you are. Because now let me give you an example, right? Let's say you find out that for every 10 people that you contact, 4 show interest, 2 show up, and 1 signs up. So now over time, now this takes a while to really get a real number, right? I'm giving you a very basic example, but now you realize that out of every 2 people that show up, 1 signs up. So you're actually a 50% closer. So your issue now is not whether you know how to sell, but you just need to increase the output in the beginning. So now if you want to have 2 clients by the end of the week, you need to get to 20 contacts because out of those 20, now the number is it's 8 that show up that are interested, 4 show up. Out of those 4, 2 sign up and 2 don't. And it's just numerical, right? That's what a great salesperson understands. It's that it's a numerical formula. And so even if you don't know what you're doing, you can always increase your contacts because your contacts always funnel down into a sale, right? So now, if you really don't know how to sell, you can just increase the amount of people that you talk to. So maybe for you, if you're really bad, you need to talk to 30 people to get 1 person, 40 people to get 1 person or 2 people, right? So every person's different. This is where that scale between hard work and skills is different for everybody, right? Eventually, over time, this is why I was saying you cannot start out by acting that like you're smart. Eventually, the numbers get tighter. So I'm going to give you an example of what that's like, right? When you're really skilled, maybe out of 10 people you contact, 8 show up. And out of the 10 people that you contact, you can get 7 to 8 interested. You can get 7 phone numbers. And out of those 7 phone numbers, you can get 5 people to show up. And out of those 5 people, you can get 3 to sign up. So you see how out of those same 10 contacts that we've been using as an example, those 10, the skilled person got 3 clients out of those 10 contacts, and the unskilled got 1. That's where the skills are different, right? When you have skills, you can get more out of the same output, right? Whereas the new person, shoot, let's be real, the new person might talk to 10 people and not get anybody that's interested, right? Because you don't have the skills. So while you're developing the skills, you have to just continue to put a lot of leads into your funnel. That just means say hi to more people, offer your free training to more people, right? And again, you have to develop the skills to talk to people. But right now, we're just looking at it numerically. So you asked for my advice. I'm giving you my advice. Think about your sales in a numerical way, right? Count how many people you talk to, how many people are interested, how many people show up, and how many people sign up. And now what you'll be able to do is not just get those numbers tighter with experience, but also you can pinpoint where your issue is, right? So you can say, well, when people show up, they sign up. So then your issue is not in the sales. Your issue is maybe in getting people to show up, right? Maybe because now you can look at your numbers, right? You can see where things are working and not working. You may say, well, I'm getting a lot of people to give me their phone number, but I'm not getting a lot of sales. Well, look in between. Where's it falling apart? Oh, well, they're not showing up. So now you have to figure out what you can do. Can you text them? Can you call them? Can you email them? Can you offer them something? Can you create a bundle? Can you create a worksheet? Something, because your problem is between getting them to want to show up and actually showing up. But now you can fix the issue. And again, it makes you a better salesperson. So you have to think numerically, okay? Think about how many people you contact, how many people are interested, how many people give you their info, how many people show up, how many people sign up, and then you can keep going beyond that. How long do people sign up for? How many times do they renew? How many referrals do they bring you? Right? I'm not going into all that today because right now it's about just getting you moving in the right direction. But that's how you have to think about your sales, and then evolve it from there, right? And then you evolve it to how many people can you teach to sell as well on your team? How good are they? Now their numbers represent your, right? Like that's what the job of the manager is when they give you the responsibility of selling. You should be an extension of them. But unfortunately, sometimes not all managers are really great at sales or at helping others be successful. So hopefully this podcast can be kind of like a filler there to help you figure that out. But number three, okay? Number three, I say this all the time. I hope you guys are listening. This is a big differentiator. If you can do this, you've got it. In your downtime, begin to read sales books. So let's say you're not really hanging out with many of the trainers all the time, right? Obviously, you need to befriend people, hang out, but when you're in your car, when you're on your way to work, when you're on your lunch break, take advantage of this time to begin to read sales books. Okay. And I have three that I'm going to suggest today. I have four books, three of them are sales. Yeah, three of them are sales and one is extra. Okay. If you don't know where to start, because normally I say just read sales books, but I'm going to give you specifically which ones so that you have no excuse to say I wasn't sure what it was, right? Um, why? So before we get into it, why do we need to read sales books? I'm going to give you again my personal experience with this. Okay. When I became a trainer, the director above even my manager, the SoCal director, his name is Donnie. Still a great guy, works at UFC as of now. Love that guy. Very, very great in everything he does. He's, top of the charts. I respect him a lot, but he didn't know me at the time. Now he knows me a little bit more. But at the time, I was just another guy sitting in the back when we were having like a little new trainer conference, and he suggested three books for me to read, for all of us to read. And I did what almost everybody does. Even you guys listening, all my trainer friends, people that I met, even trainers that I hire struggle with this. He said, read these books, man. I wrote them down. I put my notes away and I never looked at them again. And I just went back to my gym. I started just kind of quote unquote prospecting and hanging out with trainers and working out and living the life and making no money, but I was having fun. And after a while, I got to the point where, listener Merrick, who sent in today's question, I got to that point, right? Maybe it took me longer than you, but I was like, dude, I want to be at the top. I made a decision just like you did. I want to be at the top. I want to be one of the most popular trainers. I want to be busy. I want to make a career out of this. So I realized, man, I need to have goals. This is not going well. I'm sucking. My manager was like, thankfully, I had a very strict manager, even though it sucked when he called me out. He made me realize, dude, you're not doing anything. Right. So I really took that to heart and I decided I'm going to be at the top of this gym. I want to be one of the number one trainers here. You know, I actually said I wanted to be the number one trainer. And I went back through my notes and I saw that he had told me to do something that I never did. And so I ordered those books. And this is what I'm telling you. When I did that, immediately, within a week or two, I started to make a difference in my sales. And the weirder thing was that all the other trainers were trying to figure out how I was doing it. And I told them how I was doing it. They still wouldn't do it, right? But they were asking me for advice. I was still fairly new. I didn't have a lot of clients, but they started paying attention. They started asking me, how are you doing it? And my manager started asking me, like, dude, can you help the new trainers have a meeting on Friday with them for an hour and show them how you're doing it? That's how much impact reading about sales did. From going from not knowing anything to just reading one book. And I wasn't even done with the first book. I wasn't even done. And already my manager was asking me to help other trainers on their sales. That's how powerful this tip is. I give it to you guys all the time. And I still guarantee you, half of you guys, no, 95% of you guys still haven't done it because it's work, it's extra, it's not fitness, it's not training, it's uncomfortable to change. We don't have good habits. But you asked the question today. I'm answering that question. Read sales books on your off time, and you're going to jump ahead of all the trainers because most of them have not done this. So it's going to give you a huge advantage over them. I'm telling you. But I'm going to give you the 3 books that I suggest on sales today. This one is because this is one that I learned. It's a little bit older, but there's a lot of great skills in there that you can apply nowadays, and you'd have an advantage. So it's called How to Master the Art of Selling. And I believe this is by Tom Hopkins. So Tom Hopkins, How to Master the Art of Selling. The next book is Secrets of Closing the Sale by Zig Ziglar. Again, these are just OG books, but I feel like they're written so simply and so specifically that you can't get it wrong if you read these, okay? So again, book number 2, Secrets of Closing the Sale by Zig Ziglar, okay? Number 3, If You're Not First, You're Last, okay? I would even throw in there Sell or Be Sold. You know what? I'm going to give you 2 right there by the same author, Grant Cardone, okay? Grant Cardone wrote If You're Not First, You're Last, and Sell or Be Sold. Sell or Be Sold. These are 2 different books. Why did that come to mind? It came to mind because of your question and kind of your thought process and your goals. Sell or Be Sold and If You're Not First, You're Last are books about not just sales, but like how to think about winning, how to think about closing those deals, how to think about, being at the top and being number one. And since that's your goal, I just figured these 2 books are perfect because they're merging the sales and the attitude and the mental all together. Okay. So consider those. And then the last one, everybody say it with me. If you've been listening to the podcast, there's one book I'm going to suggest as a bonus because I always do. How to Win Friends. Yes. And Influence People. We all said it together, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an old book. Dale Carnegie, I believe. It's a classic, man. This book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is about your interpersonal skills. So this book is really going to help you with what to say to leads, what to say to people at the gym, how to approach people, how to carry a conversation, what you should do to make sure that they're kind of vibing with you and liking you, right? A lot of sales is just getting people to like and trust you. This book, even though it's old, it's a classic. All right? So those are the 3. The last one, bonus tip. Okay. My bonus tip, I'm going to give you a life experience that I had that hopefully you can also apply. The first thing that I did, man, when I set those same goals that you're setting right now, when I made that decision, when I started reading books, I gave up something. Okay. This is a personal story. Okay. And I'm going to share it with you. I want you to think about something that's killing time, something that you do that maybe people in your circle that are going nowhere in their life are doing as well. So for me, I was 24 years old, and at night I would play video games, right? Like Call of Duty and stuff with my friends. But I started to realize, man, these friends, I don't think they have goals. I don't think they want to win. I think they're just kind of going through life aimlessly, right? And so I thought, man, I want more out of life. And in that moment, I don't know if I read it or if I heard it or whatever, but in that moment, I shut off my Xbox for the last time, and I shut off my TV. And what I did is I put my goal, I wrote it down, highlighted it, and I actually put my goals on the television. So anytime I wanted to turn it on, anytime I wanted to play, my TV, all it said was what my goals were and how badly I wanted them and why I wanted them, right? You can do it however you want. And that was one of the first times I ever set goals for myself, but I made sure that I replaced what I wanted with something that was wasting my time, something that I saw as like, frankly, at the time I had to look at it like loser behavior. Now, I don't think playing games and having hobbies and stuff like that is loser, right? Some people serve, some people play games, right? We need to de-stress. But right now you're not at a point where you need to de-stress. You're at a point where you need to add stress to your life. You need to add work to your life. You need to add that stamina, that grit to your life. So right now, it's not the time. Right now, like I'll give you an example for myself, right? I worked for many, many years to build a business. Now, when I take leisurely time, it's not as harsh in my mind to think of it as like loser behavior, right? I'm wasting time, even though there's still always that in the back of my mind because I still think like I could be more productive. But right now, you got to let stuff go because it's critical. Okay. You want to compete with these other 15 trainers or other 14 trainers or whatever. It's highly competitive. Sales, the gym, you're new. All the members know you're new. The packages, it's a lot of money for some people, right? Especially for us as trainers, when we start, we feel like it's a lot of money, even if the customer doesn't. Sometimes we project. And so if you haven't sold, if you haven't been in this environment, you're still figuring out how to train, how to sell, how to hit goals, how to sacrifice. Do you have the stamina? How to read in between? There's so much going on. So I would say look at something in your life that, frankly, people that are not going anywhere that they do, pick that thing, give it up, right? So this is something that we don't talk about enough. A lot of us always ask questions about what to do, but we don't realize that a lot of this is about what not to do, what you need to stop doing. Okay. And so I'm giving you that as a bonus today. Look for something that you're going to stop doing. It's going to help kind of fortify your mind and your character. That's really like the bigger thing, right? Because I gave you what to do, but if you can sacrifice something for what you want, it's more powerful and it gives more meaning to the goal. Okay. Because you're not just adding, you're giving up because you want better, and that will build a lot of like strength, mental and emotional strength, and it'll build your character to just be like a stronger individual, which a lot of us need right now. We want so many things, but when we realize that there's a price to pay, we don't want it so much anymore, do we? So we need to do away with that. If these are the goals you have, if this is what you want, then you need to go for it. But if you want to fortify your character and really give it everything you got, you need to give something up in order to achieve it and replace that with something else, right? So if it's the books that I said to read, okay, if your thing is TV or video games or smoking weed or going out to drink or whatever it is, or going on dates, whatever it is, every week for the 3 months that you have given yourself, replace each one of those habits or just one of those habits. And every time you would be smoking, you're reading for 30 minutes. Every time you'd be drinking, you're listening to a podcast for 30 minutes. Every time you would play video games, you're going to use that time to, go to the gym and work out and talk to more people, right? You're going to go home and play video games at 6 p.m., stay an extra hour at the gym. Give up that video game time to stay at the gym just one more hour. Something good might happen, right? That's how you build the character that you're going to need in order to win at this game of prospecting and building your client base up and hitting your goals and moving up the ranks. All right. So thank you for this question because as you can see, you really took me to a different place because I feel like this is exactly where I was when I started, man. So it's very relatable to me. It's very personal to me. And, I try to be as honest as I can be with just exactly what I did, and even what I would do if I was starting over. So thanks again. That's today's episode. Send in your questions, you guys. We can make it into an episode today. And I hope today's episode can help you guys start moving in the right direction, set those goals and grow within your company, instead of looking elsewhere, right there where you're at, you can make it happen, but you got to do these things. All right. So go to personaltrainerhustle.com, check out what we're doing and send in your questions right there on the website as well. If you guys are on YouTube watching, Obviously, it's just me sitting here, but you guys can go ahead and hit the subscribe so you can get the updates every time we get a new episode out. All right. So send in your questions, hit the follow, hit, whatever, a 5-star review if you're on a podcast platform, whatever it is, man. I appreciate you guys listening and supporting the podcast. I'll talk to you guys soon.